Hey YouTube, what's going on? It's Adam here with Retro Repairs, and time for another repair video. So today, I've got a copy of Mickey's Speedway USA for the N64. I picked this up recently on my recent mail day video, and this was sold to me as part of a lot that did not work. So what I'm going to do, we're going to test it out here and see if it works, and if not, why. So the very first thing I want to do, just real quickly, is give it a bit of a clean using some isopropyl alcohol and just a Q-tip. So get the bud nice and wet. Just go in here, try and get as much gunk out of the pins as we can. So those are coming out pretty dirty. So these pins are dirty. I haven't tested this yet. Just I don't want to put too much gunk into my system. Yeah, it's pretty nasty. Okay, so a little bit better. Let's just give it a test, see what happens. So power is on, but still nothing on the TV. Still nothing. So I think we're gonna have to take a look at this, try and fix this. All right, so first thing we're gonna need to do is just open this cartridge up. So it's gonna take a special security driver bit. You can find these online, Amazon, eBay. They normally sold as under the name as a game bit driver. So there's two sizes. Small ones are for most cartridges. Big ones are for some of the consoles. So this is going to be the smaller one. Remove the two screws and let's see what things look like. Okay, back of the shell comes off. So RF shielding doesn't look too bad. There's a hair stuck to me. RF shielding doesn't look too bad. Inside of the cartridge, I don't know if we can see on the camera, but it definitely looks a little bit dirty. The front of the cartridge is kind of dirty, so we're going to try and clean this up a little bit and see if we can't get this working. Okay, so to take off the shielding, we need a small crosshead or Phillips screwdriver. And let's go with this guy. That'll do. Okay, shielding is up. A little bit of corrosion on the bottom here. Nothing too bad. But same thing here, a little bit of corrosion. Not the end of the world. The board is what I'm looking at here. So as we can see, these pins are pretty dirty. You see there's like a little line up here. This is caused from this shield, which seems to rub against the board. And it either captures moisture and causes points for corrosion to start. Dirt gets in there. Perhaps this expands and contracts in the cold and warmth. But either way, that seems to be a very common failure point. So we're going to clean this up best I can and then start testing some of these pins to make sure, or some of these traces, just to make sure that there's no breaks here. Like I said, it is a very common failure point. I have a number of videos where I've had to do that very repair, is fixing traces right there. So let's see how this looks. So I'm going to start just with some isopropyl alcohol again and a Q-tip. Just want to clean up all of these pins. So once we clean it up, that actually doesn't look too bad. There's no obvious breaks. Now that doesn't mean that there are no breaks, but it doesn't actually look too bad. So next step here, just going to take my pencil eraser and try and buff out these pads a little bit. I want to make sure that there's no gunk and grime on them that's going to interfere with a connection. So you don't need to go hardcore on these, just a gentle up and down will do the trick. Don't go side to side if you can avoid it. Up and down is generally going to do it. And then flip to the other side. This side's a little rougher, but it feels like it's getting better. So let's see if we can kind of see how this looks. So you can note that there's some discoloration, some pretty heavy wear at the bottom of these pins. A little bit of something on the top of the pins. So probably my guess is years of someone blowing into it, spitting into it, causing it just not to get a good connection, and then eventually that that spit that you blow in there corrodes it, makes it worse. So that's why they say don't blow in the cartridge, because it doesn't really do anything. It actively makes it worse. Okay, so I think I'm going to slap this back into the shell just for a test. I want to see if this is going to do the trick or not. And I don't need that little spacer for the sake of this test, so I'm just going to loosely put this all back together and back to the console. All right, so we have our cleaned up, well, slightly cleaned up Mickey Speedway USA. Let's see if this works. And it does. So just a really easy way to get that working if you've got a game that just doesn't work. Cleaning up those pads is a pretty efficient way to try and fix that. I'd like to clean this up a little bit more, so we're going to open this up, clean the bit of the shell, and get this back together looking a lot better. Okay, so just going to take all the insides out here. Real quickly, I just want to make this a little bit better. We're not going to get it perfect. I don't want to ruin the label or anything. The label's in reasonable shape, but it's just kind of grimy. There's dirt and stuff, dust in the pads here. So I'm going to get a little bit of isopropyl alcohol in a cap here with my toothbrush and just try and go at these pads. Actually going to cover up that label there. There we go. Oops. There, so already in that little crevice, looking way better. Still some gunk up at the top here, so see if we can't get some of this off. Just gonna try something that's not very abrasive, just see if it will come off. Pencil eraser. Some of these, especially usually right around the edges here where it starts to turn, it's been all scratched up, so it's not going to easily clean up without really getting it pretty saturated. So again, I'm not interested in ruining the labels, so I'm not going to really soak this or anything. It's not too bad, but I just like to get it looking a little bit better. There you go. Not perfect, but a bit of an improvement. Just doesn't look quite so rough. The back is kind of hacked up, so there's this big scratch here. I'm going to do the same thing to those creases there with the toothbrush. But again, just taking a little bit of care to not ruin the label. And then just clean up the inside a little bit. Okay. So, steps to reassemble are essentially the opposite of taking it apart. Throw the shield in. Throw the board in, throw the shield in, nope, the spacer. I swear half the time I forget the spacer and then I start screwing it back together and it's like, oh crap. There we go. All right, so don't forget the Phillips screws. A handy trick when you're screwing these back together is actually screw them in reverse for a couple turns until you feel a bit of a click. Like that, and then screw it in. That way you're not cross-threading it, you're not stripping the plastic, and they just go in a lot nicer. Whenever you're screwing into plastic like this, if you do feel that there's resistance, it's best to just stop and try again because you're probably missing the threads. So reverse. I'm not feeling it here. Oh, there it was. It was just very small. There we go. Shell on. And then same thing again with the security bits. So once again, reverse, there it clicked, screw it in. And there we have it, Mickey Speedway USA. So quick, easy way to revive games when they're just not working. This same process works for pretty much any cartridge-based games, whether it's N64, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, Atari Jaguar, doesn't really matter. If you can access it, get to those pins, little pencil eraser, clean it up with some alcohol, and you are good to go. So that's going to be it for this video. Keep it nice and short and simple today. I want to thank you a lot for watching, and we'll see you next time.